Hey guys, what's up? Hershman here. Today I'd like to present the Interceptor class that I recorded the other day. I've gathered all the resources in YouTube format, and I'll be linking the PowerPoint presentation so you can follow along if you want. I'll link it down in the description below. I'll also share some of the Intel resources that were shared in the class as well. And once again, thank you to Aubaris. He is the teacher, and he does a great job explaining all the Interceptor maneuvers and fleet tactics. Really, this is something I learned a lot from, because I fly Interceptors a lot in a different way, and it's really a different setting having in a fleet type of role. So I just like to get this out there and like to share it for you guys. Once again, check out the links below and enjoy.
You don't need to be in a MAR to actually participate in the class. So, okay, everybody, you should be opening your Interceptor presentation right now on your, preferably on your desktop, because the Eve client, browser client, is just shit. So yeah, let's start. Welcome to the class. Thanks for attending. If you're here, you want to become a better interceptor, learn something about intercepting, get an idea what intercepting is, basically. So this class is gonna be about fleet intercepting. Some of you may ask, what the fuck is an interceptor? An interceptor is a fast-moving ship, a frigate, Tech 2, that is there and that is made to scout for fleets and to hold things down. An interceptor is not a ship that kills. It's not a ship that basically it's a thing to catch. Alright, so the guide that we're going to be using was made by John. Most of you know him. He's in Spectre Fleet FC as well. So we're going to be using his guide. Thank you, John, for this guide. Go ahead and jump to page 2. We're gonna go through different parts of intercepting. Intercepting is very, very complex, and there's a lot of things that that are involved in intercepting. So, by the way, guys, you can feel free to ask questions at any time. Like, if you have a question, ask it right away, because you will write it down or ask it right away. I don't give a shit, but you will forget it if you think you can. Like, remember it for the end of the class. So write it down or ask it right away. You can always interrupt me.
This reminds me of the online classes I took.
Fleet intercepting 101. We're firstly going to be talking about ship fits. After that, we're going to talk about the very vital part of intercepting, which is the overview settings. We're going to be talking about how tacking works in general. We're going to be talking about the most vital part of the fleet interceptor, which is the communication with your fleet commander FC, and the scouting in general. And we will be talking about what is dangerous for you, what can you engage, what to not engage.
I'm interested in scouting
basically
as
like
well,
that.
not just for
okay,
interceptors.
Any questions? Good. Page 3, or page 3. There are two different types of interceptors. There are combat interceptors and fleet interceptors. The main difference about fleet interceptors and combat interceptors is that fleet interceptors have bonus to scram and disruptor range, and combat interceptors are basically made to kill shit. Like, they are the combat interceptor.
Yeah,
like
they
the
get
says,
different ship bonuses.
Okay, we're not a bunch of retards here, so very good. You have one of each for each faction, so you have the Ares and the Tyrannis for Galanti, and so on and so on. And basically, for fleets, you always want to fly a fleet interceptor. Why is that, you may ask? Well, the thing that keeps an interceptor alive is speed and range, and a small signature. So, but mainly speed. The thing with the extended range for your fleet interceptor is that the better your scram range is, the bigger your orbit can be. And if you can move, if you can orbit a target moving 4k a second at 20 km, almost nothing can hit you. What is dangerous to you and what's not dangerous to you, we will talk about later. Okay, let's talk about general intercepting fits. That's page 4. There you go. If you're an RS pilot, if you're a Galanti pilot, I think the RS is the shit, which it is, by the way, because I'm using it. There are a few ways to fit your interceptor. For fleet intercepting, 90% of the time you want to go with shield fits. Why is that, you ask? Well, how can you make your ship faster? You put a prop mod in the mid, you fit some rigs, and you put some stuff in the lows. And if you armor tank your ship, you will need the low slots for tank, which sucks. You don't want to use the low slots for tank, you want to use the low slots for speed, because the best tank, your best tank is actually speed. So
Right,
there you
yeah.
go, that's a very basic RS fit. The magnetic field stabilizer there is switchable, but basically you want to run with that kind of setting. You want your warp disruptor, you want your medium shield extender, you can of course fit Tech 2.
I assume the blasters are for killing
and you want
drones
your
that are going after
limited
you.
1MN micro warp drive. The micro warp drive is basically the heart of an interceptor. The micro warp drive and the disruptor is the heart of every interceptor. Without the micro warp drive, you're moving slow. If a slow interceptor is a dead interceptor. Okay, so that's the RS, Galanti basic fleet interceptor. That the stats you see right there, you should be moving with an RS. Usually moves around 4.5 to 5k without heat. If you hit heat on an RS, you usually go around 6.5k. That's with a very basic fleet intercepting fit. One thing, well, I fly my RS, for example, with damage control instead of the mag step. The magnetic field stabilizer is only for DPS there. You usually don't need TPS on your interceptor. Alright, next setup is for the Malediction, which is the basic Amar interceptor. Same thing again, speed is your tank, the ballistic control system you can totally switch for damage control or more speed, or a sensor booster, not a sensor booster, what do you call it, a signal amplifier, which will help you with locking shit.
Notice the DPS, it's doing 59 DPS even with the ballistic control system.
So that's the Malediction, very basic fit.
It's very hard to get the Malediction to do a lot of DPS.
Stable. That's the issue with the RS. The RS is very cap dependent if you have your guns running. So that's a very nice thing about the Malediction. All other fleet interceptors, they are usually stable if you fly them properly. Next up, there we have the Stiletto. Again, same thing basically. Fun thing, or the good thing about the Stiletto is that you can actually have a point, a medium shield extender, and a scrambler. So you have 2 points basically. That's a very nice thing about the Caldari and the Minmatar interceptors. You can fit double point or a C-bow or whatever you think, or even dual prop if you adjust your fitting. That's a very nice thing. Okay, next thing is the Crow. Crow is one of the most used interceptors.
I like the Crow a lot.
Amazing.
Great damage application for long range kiting.
And there you go, same thing as for the Stiletto. You have both points, you have a medium shield extender, basically you have speed, tank in your lows, and stuff like that. So
having the extra scram is useful in a lot of situations.
The only really difference between them is that they vary a little bit in tank. Like for example, the Stiletto got a lot of tank, like 1.5k more EHP than the other ones, but that's not a really big issue. Like all of those interceptors are moving around 4.9k, and that's the speed you want to shoot for. So a interceptor usually should move around 4.5 to 5k, depending on your skills, obviously. Alright, any questions so far about
I like the Stiletto for how important is having the scram on the Stiletto, having that extra scram, is that useful?
Very, very good question. A scram is a very, very useful tool for intercepting. A scram is used to hold down other fast ships like AHACs, no, not AHACs, what the fuck, heavy assault cruisers that move around with micro warp drive. Basically, a scram is there to shut off micro warp drives so your fleet can catch up with
because heavy assault cruisers are actually pretty fast.
You're flying a Stogie, moving 1k a second, and there's a gang of caracals, or there are a few caracals or whatever, which move 2.5k or 2k, let's say 2k, with their micro warp drive on. You can't really catch up to them. You will need a scram to shut their micro warp drives off, because else you have no fucking way to catch them. Also, a scram can be used to shut down a micro jump drive. If you don't know what micro jump drive is. It's a battleship module which will make your ship jump 100 kilometers straight on grid. So if you activate it, you have 6 seconds, and then you jump, or 7 seconds, I don't know. I think it varies with skill. And then you will be jumped 100 kilometers straight in front of your ship. A scram disables that. Also, a scram is very useful. For example, if you tackle something on the gate and it wants to burn back, an enemy ship wants to burn back to the gate. If you scram it, it can't use its MWD, so your fleet got more time to actually kill the thing. That's a very handy thing as well. Optimal setup for that would obviously be a scram and a web, so it literally almost isn't moving anymore. So that's basically what a scram is used for. Kenzo, did I forget something about the scram?
I don't know, I didn't really hear what you said, but defensive scramming against other interceptors?
Ah, yeah, I didn't talk about that. Good point. Yeah, you can also use a scram to get rid of other interceptors. For example, a scram will shut down your the WMD, the micro drive MWD, and you can use that as a defensive weapon as well. So, for example, for the RS setup, if you have a scram on that, then you get close to an enemy interceptor. You can completely rip through him if you have him scrammed, and because he will be slow, and a slow interceptor is a dead interceptor. As soon as the interceptor is slow and somebody is applying damage to him, it will die very, very fast, because you have no tank, and all your tank is your speed and your low signature. So that's what a scram is useful for as well. Okay, good. Any more questions about? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had a question. I noticed here we've got long-range weapons on some of these and short-range weapons on some of them. I'm curious if there's a preference.
Good point.
That's a good question. Yeah, I was wondering that too.
You usually want to use long-range weapons. It's using short-range weapons will bring you into scram range, and if
I think
the enemy
even
has
Warrior
a scram
2's
gets to scram, you're basically fucked.
Your speed
so
is defense against Warrior 2's.
Range if you are fleet intercepting, unless you have a target of opportunity like a battleship or whatever that you need to scram down. And if you have a secondary point, you can go in for a scram on the target. That's why interceptors usually operate together. For example, as soon as somebody got secondary point on something, one of the interceptors can move in and scram the target down. So usually your the long range options for those interceptors have, like, small railguns can hit out to 25k very fine, and I think lasers, small beam lasers, can hit at that range as well. So no, actually there's no fuck the lasers. Small RT cannons can hit out at that range as well. So basically the long range weapons are better because you can actually apply some damage at least to the targets while you're holding it down. But your job is clearly not holding down enemy things. It's more clearly not killing things. It's more holding down things and staying alive. The thing with
that makes
small guns
sense.
is one of the most dangerous thing for an interceptor are warriors, warrior 2s especially when launched from drone boats. So small guns are very, very good at killing drones. So that's a very viable option as well, to use small guns against drones if you're getting attacked by them.
That's why I was wondering.
So you have the choice usually between picking long-range weapons to defend to pick on your target or for stupidity,
I might go
or you go for
stiletto with
small-range
autocannons.
guns,
I like
which
that
will
option.
be very useful for defending yourself. For example, against other interceptors which try to get into your scram range. Usually, if they're in scram range, you can hit them with your small guns. If
I like
range, like
that
long
interceptor
range,
right there.
range, you can hit them with your long-range guns. So that's how that works.
You can also, if you're kiting with the warp disruptor, you can use the scram to scram the drones that are following you. Wow, that thing has a lot of mid slots.
Okay. Overview settings for interceptors. Like you said, two things can kill you in an interceptor. Or, well, a very dangerous thing for an interceptor is drones. You preferably want to have drones or a selected drone overview on your overview settings, just so you can see if there's anything coming close to you, which is drones or other interceptors. What's very important for an interceptor as well is to order your overview by range, because if there's an enemy ship coming closer to you, you need to know if it can kill you, first of all, and you need to know if it's fast enough to catch up with you. So what you really need on the overview is a ship type, velocity, distance, and also an alliance ticker. The alliance ticker I'm going to mention later on, which is a thing not generally about intercepting, but about operating with your fleet commander and operating in fleets in general. So that's what that's for. But basically, you need to know: can the ship catch up with you? Can the ship get close to you and catch you? And
also, the
how far
stiletto
away
is really
the
fast.
ship? That's very important.
I think it's
Range
the fastest.
and speed is everything for Scepter, and that counts for enemy ships as well. So you need to
Might
know
be the
the
claw,
enemy ship's
actually.
speed and the enemy ship's range. So for example, you are on grid, moving around, and there's an enemy interceptor coming in at 5k. You only move 4.7k, and you know that he will catch you. Usually the thing is, you try to get the fuck off if there's anything dangerous for you, obviously. Another thing is, if you overheat, you usually can overheat your micro upright for 3 full cycles. A normal interceptor will speed up to around 6.5k if you overheat it with proper skills. And that's always know how fast can my ship go, how fast can the enemy ship potentially go. That's a very important thing to know. So distance, velocity.
Yeah, the claw I think is the fastest, but I still like the stiletto and it's still fast.
Also, alliance stickers are important for your overview, and most importantly, drones. You want a different drone tab, or you can put drones on your you can create a special intercepting tab when you're like tackling things that are and you're not in a big fleet fight. So you can use that. All right. Any questions about the overview? Good. Basic tackling. Yep.
You mentioned transversal?
Yeah, that's the thing that I'll mention in basic tackling. Okay. If you see a target that you want to tackle down for your fleet to kill, what do you want to do? It's around 70 km away from you, and it's moving at around 1k or whatever. It's not attempting to warp out. It's trying to fight you or whatever. He's being stupid, or you're trying to burn for it to kill it, and you know that your fleet is close by, and Logic will rep you if he actually got a chance of hitting you. So what you want to do? You never want to burn directly towards a target. If you burn directly towards a target, like you just hit approach and the target is looking at you, locking you up, and you just go in a straight line towards it, what will happen is that their guns will just fucking obliterate you. If you know how tracking works, every gun got a tracking velocity or a tracking speed that it's using to adjust to moving targets, basically. So because ships are moving, guns need to track and move and adjust themselves. And if you're moving very fast, tracking most of the time can't catch up with you, or only in very specific cases when the enemy has very excellent tracking, for example. That's why you never want to move in a straight line towards your target. Always go towards your target with an angle. For example, like you see in the graphic that John created there. Like, don't go the red line, go the green line, so you can actually catch the thing and establish an orbit as soon as you're in point range. So you want to burn for your target with an angle. As soon as you're in point range, you want to orbit the target. Okay, initially traveling parallel to the target. Yeah, exactly. I covered there.
Yeah, I've
exactly.
lost interceptors that way before.
So if you're moving,
trying to warp off before landing first, taking a huge shot.
Brilliant hits towards you. You have two options. You get the fuck out, or you change your approach angle. That's called spiraling. So there's you can. I will show you this in practice later on. If you're going for a target, you can spiral around it. Like you move towards. I will show you spiraling in action later on. Also, while you burn for a target, always you look for celestials that you could potentially warp to if shit hits the fan. For example, you think he can't track you properly, but he actually can and has some kind of way to track you. Always be prepared to get the fuck out. A dead interceptor is not a useful interceptor. You always need to know like your area. You, for example, if there's an asteroid belt close to the target or behind the target somewhere, you could potentially use that as a burn 2 point, and then you can establish the orbit as soon as you're close. All right, close range is very. Yeah, you need to know your point range, obviously. You need to know your point range when you're overheating. Your point range usually with Interceptor 4 and the Tech 2 Disruptor is 28 kilometers. If you overheat, you can hit 34. For example, you're burning for a target that you know wants to get away and don't want to, and that can fight you. For example, you have a battleship on a belt that is ready. Overheat your fucking point. Get there, get your point established as soon as you can. Like, that's a very important thing. A lot of people don't overheat their points properly, and sometimes you lose targets because of that. As soon as you have established a proper orbit, like you have a stable orbit around your target, you know it can't get away from you anymore, backup is arriving, you can stop overheating your point. But as long as you, as the target is still moving at an unpredictable pace, you need to keep your point overheated to establish a proper point and establish a proper orbit. All right.
I have a question. When you are in a situation where you can just hit orbit on a target, and you're in the Interceptors with the point range bonus with a warp disruptor, what should you keep your orbit range at?
It depends on the target. For example, you have a battleship with guns, obviously. You can try to get under its guns very easily, like you orbit it at 10 km and moving at full speed. It will be very easy to keep to be under a gun, under the guns of a battleship. What you always want to do, unless you have backup, is be out of scram and web range, because webs and scrams will fucking kill you as soon as you get in their range. A battleship that's scramming and webbing you can hit you. So usually you want to stay between 15 and 20 kilometers depending on the target. For example, if you're tackling a Vagabond, which is a Tech 2 Minmatar Stogie, or a Staver, Tech 2 Staver, different kinds of weapons can hit at different ranges, but a Vagabond, for example, can hit with autocannons at around 25 km with an ease. So you probably want to stay out of that range for some while to mitigate some damage. So for example, if you know he can hit you at around 20-25 km, okay, you orbit him at 25 and overheat your point, so you can actually keep the point on him. If you know he can track you at like you really need to make it dependent on the target. If you know your target got railguns, for example, long range blaster or long range hybrid weapons, you can usually get in closer, because at closer ranges, long range weapons can't track you. So
it's
you
more
need
of a tracking issue.
Know a few things about tracking and stuff like that, and what your target ship is usually using, and you will learn that from experience. For example, I would not advise you to, for example, if the fleet you're scouting for or tackling for is 2 jumps out and you see a Vagabond on a gate who is already moving and is not very close to the gate, and you try to get a point on this guy, he will probably fucking obliterate you. He can hit you out to 25 km with an ease. He has drones so you really need to know your enemy. What I would recommend to every one of you who's trying to be a good interceptor pilot, get to know ships. The most flown ships that you encounter are usually cruisers, and get to know the different types, what a cruiser can do, what a Tech 2 cruisers can do, and you really need to know what the enemy can do. There's like no handbook for every ship.
Now, as a tip for that, the ISIS is actually really helpful. Now, if you just want to quickly browse through a ship.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah, if you're not overly familiar with ship types, ISIS is very quick to identify what ship classes are and get you quick details.
Okay, thank you.
Good point there.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. If you're new to the game and need input on different ships, read blogs, check ISIS, just
that's a good
browse
point,
ships in
Gunvoid.
the market, whatever you want to do. Just get to know the different ships that you usually encounter when you're intercepting.
And you ever get bored like me, peruse killboards. You learn a lot through perusing killboards.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any other questions relating establishing orbit and getting closer to your target? Cool. Okay, piloting manually. 50% of the time, or most of the time when you're intercepting, you will be piloting manually. Even if you're, even if I said you will establish an orbit around your target, I wasn't actually talking about pressing the orbit button. It's keeping that orbit manually. It will take you some time, of course, to get used to orbiting manually because it's not the easiest thing to do. But the things you get from orbiting manually is that you can actually dictate your range very, very easily, and you will not
under
fuck
your
up your
neocom menu right
because,
here.
Sometimes when the enemy position changes,
it's a hierarchy displaying the different ship types and different races
of ships. The game will actually recalculate your orbit and might change the orbit sphere. So sometimes
the top
it
left you can select the race.
Just stop and change their whole orbit because the enemy ship moved in an unpredictable manner, and the engine has to recalculate the orbit that you need. And this will fucking kill you if you stop and go below 1k a second. You will fucking die if the game stops you and the enemy is actually trying to kill you. That will hurt you a lot. So when orbiting manually, yeah, it's not the easiest thing to do, and you will need a lot of practice. But for example, you can go to a planet, look up the POCO, and just orbit the POCO or whatever you want to orbit, of course, or orbit a random belt. You just need a lot of practice. One thing with intercepting is you will die a lot at the start of it. When I first started flying with Spectre Fleet, I started as an interceptor, and I had no fucking idea about it, and I fucked up like tons of times, which is perfectly fine at the start. But well, I kind of know how to use an interceptor by now, so try a lot of things. Don't be afraid to die. But if you're, yeah, basically you will die a lot, but you will get better while dying, hopefully, if you're not a complete retard. Okay, so yeah, very good pointer. Do not ever just warp when trying to leave. If you're moving at full speed and you hit a random asteroid belt that you want to warp to because you're getting shot, don't ever do that. You need to move your interceptor towards its line, because if the belt is behind you and you try to warp out to that belt, you will die because you will stop for a second. Your interceptor will turn around and try to align to that belt as fast as it can. So always look at your screen, look at the things that are close to you, and basically if you're warping out, make sure you're semi-aligned to it at least, like at least steering in that direction while moving at full speed. Because if you have your MWD running and you just warp to some random thing, your interceptor will stop and you will speed up again, and that takes a lot of time, and this time will actually kill you if you're already getting shot and you need to get the fuck out. Okay, good. Also, if you have multiple targets that are a threat to you on grid, you should pilot manually. Like there's a frigate and a cruiser, and you have a pointer on the cruiser, and the frigate is trying to catch you to save its cruiser friend. Always pilot manually. You need to try and stay away from the frig. At the same time, you need to try orbiting
This
the
makes
cruiser.
You want to fly a vagabond.
So if you would just orbit manually, the frig will catch you in, without a problem, even if it's only a scrubby Tech 1 frig with a web and a scram. So you really need to be aware when to pilot manually and when not to. But most of the time you will pilot manually as an interceptor. Like 90% of the time I'm doing it at least.
Apex piloting, maneuvering is very hard. Maybe you can explain a little how to do that.
Yeah, we will get over that in when we are out there actually flying and not only talking and listening. So, but yeah, good point. Yeah, manually piloting skill comes with experience. Don't expect to be the greatest interceptor right at the way, but you will learn while doing it and while failing. Okay, any questions regarding the basic tackle moves? Brilliant, let's move on. Scouting and communication. This is the most vital part, besides actually be able to fly an interceptor and then not dying. If you're scouting
this is
for
useful
fleet, if
for
you're operating
not just
fleet,
interceptors, but any scout role.
you need to be very, very clear in your communication. Don't be afraid to talk loudly. Don't be afraid to interrupt some random douchebag chatter that's going on a fleet. If you're scouting, you have priority. If you're scouting, you need to be very clear with what you're saying. If you're scouting, you need to follow a few basics that like every scout is using. There are a bunch of terms that are listed here. For example, yeah, everybody knows what tackle is.
I don't know what this is.
Something is tackled. It's
maybe a typo.
Good. Just look at those things. If you have any questions about those things, tell me. Anything unclear? W up, for example. That means that you put 3 V's in. Are you fucking kidding me? Fucking Germans. That's a. Look at the fleet chat right now. That's a W up. If you got something pointed and you're not a primary scout of the fleet, if you're not a primary scout or on watch list of your fleet commander, you always need to W up. Like if you have something pointed, you establish an orbit and you can make sure that it's not running away before your fleet is here. W up. I have a rock pointed at belt XYZ. Nobody gives a shit. I have a rock pointed W in fleet. There you go. That's how you tell your fleet you got something pointed in the belt or whatever, wherever, and things like that. So Wing up is a very vital part if you're not the primary interceptor for your fleet. Usually the most important scepters or the scouts for the fleet are on the watch list of everybody. I think you saw this already in the fleets that you've been on. And if you're not watch listed and you know that, you will need to W up. And a good interceptor even W's up if he's on watch list. Like if you're an experienced interceptor, you will have no trouble with Wing up while holding point on a thing. So yeah, just be ready to W up if you warp to something. Just be ready to W up because your fleet needs to know who got the point. I don't know all your voices, guys. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't work that way. So you always need to W up if you have something pointed. Some other things here.
It's also important that you say what system you're in, because if you are an interceptor, you might be ahead of the fleet, and we might not know exactly where you are.
Yeah. Being clear about your location is very important. Alright, so those scouting and communication terms should be fairly clear. A pounce or a tack is a ping of a gate. It's like at least 150 km away or from the gate that you're going to, like or the structure that you're fighting at or wherever, or the grid. Like for example, you have a station, you're 170 km away from the station, you're at a pounce, a ping or a tack. A tactical is always at least 150 kilometers away from the structure that you're on grid with. For example, if you're at a tack at a gate, attack for example can be 300 above. That's a very, very widely used tack or ping, pounce, whatever you want to call it. I hope everybody knows what a safe spot is. A safe spot is a spot in space that's not warpable to from the overview, like it's just a random bookmark in space. Somebody in fleet doesn't know how to create how to make a bookmark, how to make a safe spot for the fleet. That's a very, very important part as well. X up if you don't know how to make a bookmark. X up if you don't know how to create a safe spot. There's no shame in Xing up. Just tell us. We are here to teach you. Not entirely sure, that's fine. Okay, you have your peoples and places thing in your neocom on the left side of the screen. There you have places, and there's a big button which says add location. While you're in warp from Stargate A to Stargate B, you can hit that button, create a location, name it like say spot 1, and hit make location or add location to your bookmarks, or add to bookmarks, I think. This will make a warpable place for you only, or your corp if you switch, move it to corp, and this will leave this mark in space. So if you're in the middle between Amar gate and whatever gate, You can make a save spot by just add location, type in random name, and make bookmark.
The second faster way to do it is also left click on your ship and bring up the radial menu.
Exactly, radial menu works as well.
Yeah,
That's how I'm doing it.
Yeah, you click the radial menu, then you move immediately to the right to the plus sign, and then up. The pin is the save location. You can literally make it inside of 2 seconds. You just have to click, drag, up, enter, and you've made a save spot.
Exactly, that's a very useful thing. Like, radial menu isn't actually all that terrible. Okay, so that's how you make a ping, a save spot on the ping. Alright, next, any questions about scouting, like about those terms? We'll go over scouting some more soon, like on the next page. Good. Page 11, scouting and communication. If you're scouting for a fleet, as soon as you
tell
jump
FC
into
about
system,
bubbles.
it
Yeah,
doesn't matter if you're primary scout or whatever.
that's actually
You
good
will tell
advice.
me or your FC, like
You
I'm
might
UFC
forget
right now.
because in an interceptor you don't have to
You will
worry
tell
about
me
bubbles
about
anymore.
how many people are in local, how many people are on grid with you. If there are no people on grid with you, you will tell the FC what's on D-scan. Like, okay, there's a Tango and a battleship on D-scan, or there's a Ibis and a freighter on D-scan, or whatever. Tell the FC about it. Tell us what you see. The RFC relies on you entirely. Your FC can't look through that gate. He looks through that gate through you. You're the eye of the FC. If you're jumping through as a scout, you tell the FC how many people are local. You do a 360 max range D-scan, and you tell the FC about what you find. It doesn't matter if it's only a post-up ship bit. You will tell the FC about everything that's in system. That is a combat ship or whatever it is. Even if it's an exploration ship, nobody gives a fuck. Just tell us what you see.
Puggy.
That's very important. Also, if there's a shit ton of things on the D-scan, like, oh my god, there's 30 things on my D-scan when I jumped into a system, I can't tell the FC fast enough what it is. You will want to use a D-scan tool. A D-scan tool like a dashboard, the one that I linked right here. Save it, make a note. If you don't know how to make a note, click on the E button in the top left corner of the screen. Go to accessories, open Notepad, and make a note. This is a very, very good scouting tool. You can also use this tool to Control A on your local list, Control C and Control V. To paste all the names in local into this tool, and then you hit the parse button. If you're doing it for AMA, it will take a time, but this will show you all affiliated pilots in system. For example, there's 10 people of Alliance A in local and 10 people of Alliance B. You will get this tool will tell you about it. And the D-scan there, yeah, that's a D-scan from Amara Undock. That's a very good example. Thanks. So you can do the same thing for your direction scanner. It will show me what kind of ship types are in there. It will show me how many, what kind of ship actually is there, and it's a super important thing. Yeah, Kenzo, I hate this D-scanner, by the way, because it's not using colors. Like, I really like, the only thing I don't love about you is this D-scan tool. I'm serious.
It's faster.
Yeah, it might be faster, but it's not as visually pleasing and clear. I think like the one that I linked is way clearer because it actually shows you what's super dangerous and what's not and whatever. So it also shows you what's on grid.
I think I know what D-scan tool he's talking about. I'll link it for you guys.
Like super useful
I
there.
believe I have that bookmark here.
Yeah, just about that. Eve Dingo is fine as well. Eve Dingo is cool as well. That's a nice tool.
Yeah, that's the one
I prefer a dashboard for some stupid reason. That's just me. Of course, you can use all the different tools. I will not shout at you for using this and that tool, but use those tools when relaying intel to your FC. Save all those things that we linked there. Scanner, guys, if you link the D-scan tool.
Oh, they're linking it here.
Link
Okay.
that blank sheet, so everybody can save those tools. People will want to use different ones because everybody is a little bit different. Everybody prefers different things. So guys, go ahead and save those D-scan tools in your notepad. I, for example, have this as my Eve browser start page, a dashboard Intel. So I just hit the browser button, bam, Intel, post it, go. Like, you need to be quick about this. Like, for example, you're on grid with an enemy fleet and it's all around you. You can't list everything in time. You just go to your D-scan, make a close range D-scan, and post it, and bam, your FC will completely know what if you can engage it, and stuff like that.
Also, if you're in a situation like that, I often, when I'm in fleets, I'll read people say, they'll go like, oh, Drake, Basilisk, Drake, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
If you're reporting
Nobody...
a fleet, order it by type and say 6 Drakes, 3 Basilisks, 3 Interceptors. Don't list off them in order as they're appearing in your direction.
Yeah.
If you jump in and there is a fleet, I don't need to know the in order of how they're appearing in order. Just order an overview by type and just say, okay, there's about 20 of these guys, 10 of these guys, 5 of these guys. Because if you start listing off numbers, just randomly saying, you know, ship types in the order that they're appearing on your overview, they're gonna be like, so that's about what, 20 guys total or something like that. It's very confusing and it takes a lot longer.
But what you can say is there's a fleet about 20 people on the gate. Here's a D-scan. That's like the best way to relay intel to an FC. It's frigates and cruisers. 20 people around the gate. They're about 50 km off the gate. Here's the D-scan. That's how we want the intel. Like, that's how you need to relay intel. It doesn't help an FC if you say Drake, Basilisk, Stepper. Oh, there's also an interdictor here. Like, what the fuck? Like, you really need to be very clear. Communication is key in fleets. Like, you really need to be clear on your communication. Anyone in here that doesn't know how D-scanning works, D-scanning is a very, very vital part of EVE, and you need to know how it works. If there's no shame in asking right now, don't be a fool, ask right now instead of later when you need it. Everybody knows how D-scanning works. Yeah, there's 2 different parts of D-scanning. One, you can use it as a 360 scan and a max range scan and just get an idea about what is around you. And you can also use the D-scan to pinpoint enemy ships. We're gonna go about the actual D-scanning use in a second when we undock and actually do stuff. Okay. Also,
as
like,
according to you, Apex, we do have a war target that's been popping in and out of the undock, so just be careful with what you're doing.
What I can't. Yeah, we'll do fine. Thanks. Also, it's in capital red on this page. Tell your FC about all bubbles. Bubbles are things that kill fleets. Bubbles are things that make your FC, that lets your FC warp you into a Rooks and King pipe bomb. I was there. I warped the fleet into Rooks and King pipe bomb.
Oh man.
Which I wasn't.
I might have seen that on YouTube once.
30 seconds before. No, whatever.
I've seen a few pipe bombs on YouTube.
About all bubbles. It's very, very, very important to know about all bubbles. If there's a bubble above the gate, tell him about it. If the bubble is behind the gate, tell him about it. If there's a bubble anywhere, tell me about it. I need to know where the bubble is. Your FC wants to know where a bubble is. Bubbles kill fleets. Bubbles are used by bomber camps. Bubbles are used by pipe bombs. Pipe bombers. Bubbles are used by everybody to hold down fleets. If you're
search Rooks and Kings on YouTube. If you don't know what he's talking about, it's pretty awesome.
Interceptors don't care about bubbles, and normal fleet.
If you don't know what pipe bombing is, search Rooks and Kings on YouTube.
Came off the gate and you still walk through it.
Maybe EVE Rooks and Kings.
It is vital. If you jump into a system and there are 100 people in system, you go in, you tell your FC, 100 people in local gate bubbled. Here's a D-scan. Go, thank you. I don't need to know more, but I need to know if the gate is bubbled, like directly, or if there's bubble off the gate. There are different kinds of bubbles, which you will learn on your own. There are drag bubbles, stop bubbles, and shit like that. It's all different terminology, but basically it's good enough if you tell the FC there's a bubble 50 km behind the gate. If you know that this is a drag bubble coming in from station A, then you can tell the FC, of course, about it. That's fine. But if you don't know about the different terminologies of bubbles, just tell your FC, bubble 50 km off the gate in that direction. All right. Any questions about relaying information to UFC when you jump into a system? Good. A very vital part as well is while you're moving through a system, for example, you jump into a system and you have nothing on D-scan, but you see that the sun and everything is very far away from you. Warp to a celestial that's close to the sun or to the sun directly, or warp to a safe spot or wherever, or to a station, and give a new D-scan, an updated D-scan of that system. For example, you have 40 people in local, and you don't see anything in D-scan when you land, like jump into the system. Warp to the sun, give a new D-scan. Warp to the out gate, give a new D-scan. You can post all those D-scans if you find something, of course. Like, it's very, information is key, Neve. Information is power, information is fights, information is of success. So we really need to know about all those things. All right, any more questions about communication and scouting? Good. Fleet engagements, next page. We have a very fancy space, a very fancy drawing on the right side. Yellow fleet, that's us. Red fleet, enemy. The space between two fleets is called neutral space, and that's where you are usually burning. That's like the space. If you have a fleet on the gate and you're burning for it, that's where you're usually burning towards the fleet. This space is usually, basically, it's just a drawing of two fleets and the space between them.
No man's land.
Yeah, no man's land. That's the space that is usually in red range of your logi, but maybe out of range of your guns or whatever. So there's, I guess you know how a grid works. Also, if you don't know what a grid is the thing where you are. Grid is the thing that is the area of space that you're around. All right. If you have an enemy fleet, you see 2 Interdictors, 2 Interceptors, 4 Logi, 10 DPS ships. Usually, you will go for the things that are burning towards you. If there's an Interdictor moving towards your fleet, that's a very interesting target for your FC. Your FC will usually see this on its own, but you will try to get point on this target. If there's 10 Caracals, 2 Interceptors, and 2 Dictors, and 2 Logi, you will go for the things that can hurt your fleet the most usually. You get tackled on the potential primary targets of your FC. Potential primary targets will always be Bubble, Logi, Evor, Tackle, in that order. Usually you have, nobody gives a shit about DPS if the support of the enemy fleet is still here. If you point a Caracal in that engagement, you're a fucking idiot. You need to point things that your FC will most likely primary. You need to point Logis, you need to point Evor. When talking about Evor, especially ECM. They have a Blackbird on grid, feel free to get a hero point on that Blackbird and fucking rape that Blackbird off grid. If they have a Griffin on grid, burn for that fucking Griffin. A Griffin is an ECM ship, Kadauri ECM frigate. Super annoying shit. Destroys fun. Evor, Logi, Bubbler. Those are the most interesting targets for UFC. If it's a bellicose and only target painting, nobody gives a shit about it. If it is a Blackbird, everybody gives a shit about it. So, Evor, Logi, and Bubblers. Bubblers are also heavy interdictors, but heavy interdictors are usually horrible primaries because they have a shit ton of tank. But that's a thing for another day. Also, anti-support ships are super dangerous for you if you are moving from your fleet through neutral space towards the enemy fleet. For example, the enemy fleet just got 2 more Thrashers or Coraxes in their fleet. Like, now they have 2 Logi, 2 Evor, 2 Dictors, and 10 Caracals. And also they have 2 Thrashers or random destroyers. Those destroyers are anti-support ships. They destroy you. They destroy your face if you're an Interceptor. Destroyers are highly dangerous for you if you're an Interceptor. Also, warp-ins. Does everybody know what a warp-in is? X up if you don't know what a warp-in is. Good? Okay. enemy fleet is
Chill
100
his
km away
tits.
from your fleet. That's not a warpable range. You can warp at
What does that
150
mean?
km,
He needs
exactly
to chill his
150 km.
tits.
A warp-in is when you move behind the enemy fleet, like in the drawing, you move around that fleet, get behind them, and move away 150 km from your fleet. That is a warp-in. You will give your fleet warpable distance in line with the enemy distance. For example, you move 200 behind the enemy fleet is 100 away from our fleet. You move 200 behind it. I will warp the full fleet to you at 100 km. We will land in their face and just destroy them, or whatever we want to do with that warp-in. That's how warp-in works. Also, you can have on-grid and off-grid warp-ins. For example, you know that your fleet is 300 below, above off-grid a gate. And you know that an enemy fleet is. You always need to know your fleet's position in. Okay, I forgot the word. You need to, like, relative to your fleet. You always need to create a warp-in that's in line with your fleet. If you're, for example, in a rolling fleet, it should be in perfect line. If you're in a long-range fleet, it's fine if the warp-in is a little bit left, right, wherever it is. Also, if you're flying an interceptor, you are an independent body of the fleet. You're not somebody who waits for the FC to tell you to do exactly that. If you see a battleship jumping through a gate, you will fucking burn for that idiot and point him. If you're at attack 300 above, you don't tell your FC that there's a battleship, you will fucking warp down to the battleship, jump after it and point it, and then you can tell your FC that I just pointed the fucking battleship on this gate. You will not wait for FC to, you're not like, dude, FC, there's a battleship at this gate, what should I do? Of course you should warp down and point the fucker. Like, use your brain and, yeah, just be independent. You're not like you're not in the body of the fleet, you're the arm of the fleet. You need to grab things. Your arm should move without your brain. No, it shouldn't, but like, you don't need to tell your arm to click. Like, you don't actually think about clicking. It just does it. It's like, it was a horrible metaphor, but I hope you get the point. It's like, think independently, move independently, do things independently. If you're called out as primary scout and your C wants you to scout ahead in this system, you do that, of course. Being an interceptor means not that you don't follow orders. That it doesn't mean. Like, you really need to think independently, work independently, and provide your fleet content. The interceptors are one of the most vital part of the fleet. Like, if you don't have good interceptors, you won't have a fun fleet. Like, if you have to face check things and you don't get proper intel, interceptors are so important for fleets. That's why we're doing this. That's why I'm giving you a fucking lecture about it. All right. Any questions about fleet engagements? I hope there are some, because.
What's a fleet?
Hi, Carmon. I love you. Feel free to ask now, guys, because if you're not asking, I assume that you understand everything, and I will fucking flag every one of you who was sitting in this lecture, and I will know that you sat through my interceptor class and you know how to intercept. That's why I'm asking you right now. Ask questions now, be amazing later. Don't be a fucking dumbass later because you didn't ask right now. Alright, good.
Okay.
Everybody's gonna be amazing.
I'm gonna ask some basic questions.
Shut up, somebody had a question. Casimir?
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You ask a question. Canon is an idiot. Go, ask. Now.
Oh, basically, I was going to say, I'm trying to pay attention, but it's a lot of stuff, and I can't guarantee I'm not going to derp it all up later.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine. It's expected that you fuck up. But this is only basic. I know it's a shit ton. That's why we have Interceptor actually have a fucking PowerPoint presentation about this thing, because there's so many things. You know, feel free to save that link, guys, and make a fucking bookmark of it and make it your homepage if you want to be a good interceptor, and look at this every day when you log into your fucking browser. Like, those are only the basics. You will learn everything else out there in space and combat, and by doing it and dying horribly.
Intercepting is an art.
Yeah.
You learn by
It's a
doing.
fucking art. Yeah.
Let's just say this: I've flown interceptors for 2.5 years, and I lost essentially 3 of them in one day a couple days ago. You will lose them. It will
Yeah,
happen,
okay.
and it is fine.
Talking about stats, I've been intercepting since February, and I lost interceptors
many.
16 already. I lost fucking 16 interceptors in 3 months. Like I lose them. Like I have days where I lose 2 interceptors toe to toe because you will fuck up. Even if you have experience, you will fuck up. That's perfectly normal.
Quick thinking.
Regarding the combat interceptors, should we go for other interceptors or make it sense to go for other ships also?
If you're flying,
Usually, if you're in a fleet, you fly a fleet interceptor.
yeah.
Okay.
Combat interceptors are small gang solo things that are basically shit if you're flying it in fleet.
Yeah,
Like if you're a top-notch interceptor pilot, then you can fly combat interceptors. But if you're in fleets, but usually go for fleet interceptors because they are fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you're flying, say, like a frigate fleet, where everyone has tackle and everyone moves a few kilometers a second, you don't have a need for a specialized tackler. So you can fly a combat interceptor where you can get a few more DPS out of it. Like, I'll fly a Crusader in an interceptor fleet and I do 200 DPS. That's, I mean, it's an effective frigate at that point, that's still plenty fast. But say you're moving with a battlecruiser fleet where they're not going to catch anything that's moving at anything more than a kilometer a second. They need you more for your ability to point a target more than the ability to do damage to that target.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Combat interceptors are a very specialized weapon that you will only use in specialized environments and if you have experience with intercepting. It's like Dark Fleet interceptors, they're way easier to handle, they're way easier to fly. They're for that, well, for the things we do in Spectre Fleet, they are superior in like almost every way. And even for interceptor gangs, you will usually not use a combat interceptor because in interceptor gangs you want people to stay alive and just sting them like a lot. But you're not gonna move your interceptors into scram range. But that's an entirely different matter that I have to talk with somebody about. Okay, very good. Next, hey.
I always have a little bit of trouble keeping up with the fleet because which direction we're going and how the fleet moves. Because sometimes what I notice that they always use like a bracket or something, but that's another gate that they jump to or something. I just noticed from Sherman.
Well.
Yeah, learning fleet movement, it's a matter of you just have to learn terminology. You have to make sure you're setting waypoints properly. And I'll say this, like when you fly interceptors and scouting, you will learn how to fly in a fleet quickly, or you will die a lot.
Exactly, you will die a lot.
And you will learn what ships will fuck up your ship quickly, or you will die a lot.
Yeah,
exactly.
If I told you, go tackle that saber in your interceptor, you should laugh at me. Because that saber will rape you.
I do.
The thing is, fleet movement can be very hectical at some point. For example, if you're chasing an enemy fleet. But usually, if you have a good fleet commander, he will tell very clearly. I'm not one of them. He will tell you clearly what gate we're warping to. He will tell you about the destination of the fleet. He will tell you about what your align point is. He will usually broadcast what your align point is. Aligning is a very, very vital part of fleet movement. If you have trouble keeping up with fleets, ask your FC at the start of the fleet, could you try to broadcast the line points, or could you try to be very clear about our destination, because I have trouble keeping up. And that's fine, you will get used to it very, very soon if you fly a lot with us. But don't be afraid to ask. Nobody will shout at you just because you're a rookie and asking questions about those things. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Alright.
Is there something written that you how you set your overview settings and stuff? Maybe that will help me more.
Yeah, sure, I can. Somebody link him Sarah's overview. Go.
Oh, the updated PL1 or Jane's one are a lot better.
I don't know if Jane's.
Sarah's.
Is it? I haven't used it.
No, the old Sarah's ones, I don't think it's completely updated to new objects yet.
It's missing a couple things like I think it's missing as
Yeah,
new as
I'll
like.
find it. Keep going. I'll find the link for the new.
Okay, thanks. Good. All right. Any more questions about fleet engagements? Good. Next page. Things that kill you, and things that you don't give a shit about. Basically, that's the title of this page. Things that will most certainly fuck you up in an interceptor. Destroyers. Destroyers are anti-frigate platforms. They are made to fuck frigates. If you're in a frigate and there's a destroyer on grid, and if you're not a fucking ace pilot, you will get fucked. If there's an assault frigate trying to catch you, the only thing that will protect you from this fucking assault frigate is your speed. The only thing that protects you from
if they
other
catch you,
frigates
you're
is
dead.
your speed.
Assault frigate catches
Interceptors
you,
are
you're
the
dead.
fastest ships in Eve. If you get caught by a fucking assault frigate and get scrammed by it, you are fucking dead. You might as well eject immediately or whatever, self-destruct. Because as soon as an assault frigate is on top of you, you're basically fucked. The only thing that keeps them away from you is speed. Range, and speed. Also, combat interceptors. If there's a Tyrannus going for you in your areas, he knows that he can fuck you up. You need to get the fuck away. Combat interceptors are a little bit slower than normal interceptors, so once again, speed is your friend. Also, light missiles, especially rapid light missile launcher fit ships. They will completely tear through your interceptor and not give a shit about your speed. If you wonder why this fucking Caracal killed you at 50 km range while you were moving at full speed, well, that's just it. You don't engage rapid light missile ships. They will fuck you up unless you're an ace pilot. I lost 3 excellent interceptors in the like 2 or 3 fleets ago. I told 4 interceptors to engage 2 rapid light ships because I thought, well, those interceptor pilots are fucking aces, and they still got horribly whelped. It's like those things will fuck
Rapid
your
light
interceptors up,
missiles
and they
destroy
will
an
fuck them
interceptor.
hard and not very gently.
That's
Also,
You have to always be aligned out. If there's a rapid light missile cargo on grid, you have to be aligned out at all times.
Like the 2 ships that were using those was a Caracal and a Sight Fleet issue. A Sight Fleet issue isn't a ship you see very often. I doubt many people have ever seen more than 1 at any particular engagement time, but that's how they're most often fit.
Yeah, there are. That's correct. You need to learn about ships. We talked about this earlier. You need to learn about the different ship types and what they can do.
Different ship types and commonly used fittings for those ship types is very important.
That Pandemic Legion uses for their guys. It's pretty basic instructions. Just follow installation things. You'll just right-click, install it to your.
Maybe if I stop using my mouse, he'll
folder,
leave it
and then
alone.
once you're in space, you'll right-click onto like your overview tabs and hit like import, and it will import all of the options.
Beautiful. Okay, moving on. Rapid light missiles, live missile launchers. They will fuck you up. Just the overview of ship. Yep.
Bender missiles, they help.
Yeah, that's an advanced part of intercepting. If you're running a rocket or a missile launcher interceptor like Malediction, cancel link to Lost Mail there. You can use defender missiles. Those are basically the only things that will help you a little bit.
Oh my god,
those
really?
fucking rapid lights. But still, they killed one of my best interceptors. You just don't want to go for rapid light ships. Usually, things that are rapid light.
Can those
ships
actually
are
be used effectively?
Caracal. Those are those can be flown with rapid lights very efficiently. Also,
after yesterday, I don't agree. Not so efficient. The rapid light missile cargo. I don't like it.
A lot of battle cruisers nowadays are fitting rapid lights, like Pandemic Legion's Vulture fleet. They fit rapid lights in their extra high slots to kill off frigates. Our Stogie fleet fits rapid lights.
I wonder if he can give any suggestions.
Bellicoses, yeah, good point there. Yeah.
Can you give any advice for using defender missiles? I've never used them before.
The rarest things you will ever use in Eve, and they're without a
Ask Kenzo about it. Kenzo uses them, and he's amazing with it. So Kenzo, give them an introduction to.
Use them if you tackle some missile ship, especially something like a Caracal. You get a few more seconds where your fleet can arrive and someone can get a secondary point. They only work if someone is shooting at you with missiles, and I don't think you need to target anyone for that, and I don't think you get any aggression.
Yeah, you just launch them and they auto-target missiles.
Yeah, you have like 193 kilometers range on my malediction with them, so range doesn't really matter. You just need to be shot at by missiles. It doesn't negate the whole damage, only a part of it.
But it helps.
But it helps.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a few more seconds, and
Well,
that
oh
can
yeah,
Every
it
second
negates
counts,
the damage
exactly.
because you don't have enough
get the fleet
to.
in there.
Also, warriors. Next thing after
That's
rapid
very
lights,
interesting.
warriors will fuck you up. Warriors are the only drones that can. Warrior 2s are the only drones that can keep up with interceptors, unless it's a bonus hobgoblin or something like that from a Vexor Navy issue or something. So bonus light drones like warriors, they are super fast and can actually track and hit your scepter. So if you're getting chased by warriors, either try to get the fuck out, try to kill them if you have close range shit, or try to overheat to get away from them. If you overheat your scepter, you're moving at 6.5k, warriors move at 5k. So you have actually a chance of evading those warriors. Be advised, moving 6.5k a second is super fast. Like, that's super fast, and you will lose point if you're not used to those speeds.
If you do fly a rocket, ones like missiles will fuck up warriors. Like you can about two-shot a warrior with a missile interceptor. So do you have a drone overview? I always have a drone overview. That Sarah's
that's what I was trying to do with my stiletto fitting here.
An entire subcheck section.
You can't get enough power grid though to fit the rocket launcher.
Yeah, we went over that already in the overview tab. Yeah, very good. Okay, next up, energy nudes. An interceptor without capacitor is an interceptor without a micro drive, and an interceptor without a micro drive is a slow interceptor, and the slow interceptor is a dead interceptor. So if you're don't get in nude range. Nude range of cruisers and battle cruisers is 12 km if they're unbonused. A Curse and a Pilgrim, they are dedicated nuding cruisers, recon cruisers.
I guess that's all
just
right.
look them up. Curse and Pilgrim, they have nude range bonus, and they will nude
I'd
out at 40
be more
km and not give a
vulnerable
fuck
to a
and just
slicer.
laugh about you dying.
Bonus, just the
I mean, I'd be really worried about slicer without that EM resist.
Also, a Legion can have a nuding range bonus.
No,
am I right?
The only ships.
Okay, it's amount. Okay, then it's yeah, thanks.
Sentinel, Armageddon.
Curse and Armageddon.
Yeah. Okay, so those are the things that can nude you out. Oh, also
I want
Power
the resist.
Fuck me. Okay, fine. Yeah, it's about the large ships. So if there's a nuding battleship around, and you know that it uses
Did I
nukes,
say
for example,
Sentinel? I meant
or
Slicer.
an Armageddon, then you
I'd be
stay
much
the
more
fuck away from it.
susceptible
You
to a
stay
slicer.
at 40 km, 30 km. You overheat your scram, your disruptor, and stay out of its nuding range. And Armageddon will still nude you at 40. Faction Fit Balgon will still nude you at 40. I got nuded like my third interceptor. Yeah, exactly. So there, you will need to learn those ranges. I once sceptered for a fleet, like when I started flying with Spectre, and was like, guys, I have a Balgon on grid, I'm going in for a point. Oh wait, I'm dead, because it fucking nuded me out, and then I was dead, because I wasn't moving anymore. So be very careful if you're going for a tackle on things like that. Armageddons, Balgorns, Curses, and Sentinels, they are usually a bitch to kill. There are medium turrets that can hit interceptors, which are the smallest. The smallest size of medium turrets can actually hit interceptors at some ranges. You usually don't need to be too worried about medium turrets, but those will fuck you.
Dual 180 autocannons will hit.
Yeah.
Will hit interceptors.
Dual 150 rails, pretty much all the dual or quad beam lasers or something like that. There is just look up medium turrets. The smallest size usually can hit and fuck up interceptors. Okay.
I'd be worried about a Stabber Fleet issue with that
another thing
10%
that's super dangerous
tracking
for
speed
you
bonus
as an
per
interceptor
level.
is bonus webs. If there's a Rapier or a Huggins on grid, and you're getting within 40 km of it, and it is targeting you, you will go down in speed immediately. If this thing wants to slow you down, it will slow you down and completely fuck your day. Also, the hyena can slow you down at very good ranges. So those are the most dangerous webbing ships for interceptors. There is a different kind of web strength bonus as well, and not only optimal. There is the web bonus, which you only get on pirate ships like the Vigilant, Vindicator, and the Daredevil. Thank you. And they will fucking slow you down as well. So don't get in within web range of a Vindy or a Vigilant. They have, I think, factual.
I'd be worried about a hyena because
overheated.
the hyena electronic Minotaur electronic attack frigate can web out to 35 kilometers.
Okay, yeah.
Overheating
so
his
around
webs,
20 km,
35
that's what
kilometer
you want,
webs.
where you want to stay at least. If you're engaging a Vigi, a Vindicator, a Daredevil will fuck your day anyway because he's usually just out there to
Daredevil you have to worry about.
destroy all your fun. So yeah, guys, you need to learn what different ships do, especially those that can fuck your day, like those that are on the list. Good things, good news. You're also fucking immune to some stuff, which are torpedoes. Every drone that's not a light drone. If you see the enemy throwing hammerheads at you, you fucking laugh at him because it's an idiot. If you see your enemy throwing heavy drones at you, you will laugh harder because you can't track an interceptor with fucking ogres or whatever heavy drone they're using.
Kill them because it's funny.
Yeah, they really do get very unhappy when you kill their drones.
Yeah.
Or you kill them and scoop the geckos.
Okay. Large turrets are usually not an issue as long as you're not a complete idiot. If you're not moving, everything can hit you. As long as you are moving, you will have no trouble whatsoever with large turrets, cruise missiles, torpedoes, non-light drones, interdiction fares. Interdiction fares are bubbles. You don't give a shit about bubbles. Other medium turrets, which are the ones that are smaller than the smallest things. So pretty much 70% of all medium turrets can't hit you. Also bombers. You don't give a shit about bombers. If there is some dude throwing a bomb at your interceptor, you laugh at him and you kill him. Yep, pretty much that. Okay, we've been talking for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Any questions? Feel free to ask, even if you're not on comms. Like, even if you can't talk, write your question down in Fleet. It's question time.
Apex, tell them to save that.
Picture. Oh yes, that picture Kenzo's linking. That is what every turret looks like when it is fitted onto a ship. That is very good to learn to know what your enemy actually has fit.
Yeah. Or you can stay cloaked at the gate and look at the turrets until you see what they have fitted.
Yeah. Because say if long guns, which are like beam lasers, artillery, and railguns, they have no tracking. So you can get under those guns. Like if say you jump in on a 1400 foot maelstrom and you orbit him at 2 kilometers, he will never hit you.
Yeah.
Ever. Cannot track you.
Basically, this is advanced intercepting. It's a very good point. If you can make out the difference, which is not.
I'm gonna do the giveaway right after
good. If
we
you
finish.
can't, you will still be fine. That's advanced intercepting right there. That's not like a basic requirement to be a proper interceptor pilot at the start. So save it and look at it when you've got a little bit better, but don't worry about what guns look like right at the start. Usually you go battleship, large guns, it will have trouble tracking you. Cruiser can maybe track me, and so on. Okay guys, so save it down in your interceptor note and look at it when you got a bit more experience at intercepting.
This is pretty cool.
Good.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
I like this fit, dude. Wait a minute, this is oh, this is not a malediction
Good.
though.
Everybody undock. We are going to planet 2.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, let's go to planet 2.